Let me give you a reality check that might sting a little, but it's important. A lot of adults in the US are one surprise bill away from chaos. The Federal Reserve found that when people are hit with a hypothetical $400 emergency expense, only 63% said they could cover it using cash, savings, or the equivalent. That means a huge chunk of people can't handle $400 without borrowing, selling something, or falling behind. That is not a you problem. That is a system problem. And this is where it gets weird, because a lot of you watching this aren't broke on paper. You've got a 401k, you've got home equity, you've got a decent salary, you might even look successful to everyone around you. But on a random Tuesday morning, you feel cash strapped. You feel like if your car needs new tires or your kid needs something for school, your entire month is cooked. That's the middle class trap. You're wealthy on paper, but you're cash poor in real life. And if you're smart, sometimes it's even worse. Because smart people don't just make decisions. Smart people run simulations. Smart people research for 3 weeks. Smart people compare 50 options and then do nothing because they're waiting for the perfect plan. Meanwhile, someone with half the financial knowledge but twice the grit just sets up a basic system and starts building wealth by accident. So if you've been feeling broken, I need you to hear this clearly. You are not broken. Your money system is broken. And today, I'm going to help you stop living paycheck to paycheck and start building something that actually works. Something I want you to think of as a wealth building machine. Not a budget, not a spreadsheet that you'll abandon in 2 weeks. A machine. Because here's the core truth. Money is not just math. Money is psychology and systems. Most people don't lose financially because they're stupid. They lose because their default settings are broken. They're trapped in what I call the yes trap. You say yes to little things that don't match your goals. Yes to the random Amazon order. Yes to the upgrade. Yes to the subscription you forgot you had. Yes to the weekend spending because you worked hard. Yes to the car payment that's only a little more. None of those decisions feel life-changing in the moment. But stacked together, they turn your paycheck into a temporary visitor. It shows up, looks around, and leaves. So the goal isn't to become miserable. The goal isn't to cut out every coffee and live like a monk. The goal is to build a system where money automatically flows toward your future, before your present gets a chance to eat it alive. Here's the 5-step plan. Step 1 is the mindset shift that almost nobody does because it forces you to be honest. You need to define your rich life. Not what your coworkers think rich is. Not what social media thinks rich is. Not the Joneses with their new Volvo and their kitchen renovation and their "we just decided to redo the floors" energy. Your rich life. And this is where people mess up. They never define it, so they spend their whole life buying things that impress people they don't even like. Here's the framework. Spend extravagantly on what you love, as long as you cut ruthlessly on what you don't. That's not just a catchy line, that's a philosophy, because most people do the opposite. They spend mindlessly on everything, then feel guilty, then try to budget harder, and then burn out. So I want you to pick 3 things you genuinely love spending money on. And I mean genuinely. Things that make your life better even if nobody ever sees them. Maybe it's travel. Maybe it's eating out with friends. Maybe it's fitness. Maybe it's convenience that buys you time. Maybe it's your kids. Pick 3. Now here's the uncomfortable part. List the things you don't actually care about, but you're paying for anyway. Not because you love them, because you drifted into them. That list is your goldmine. Because wealth is not built by cutting what you love. Wealth is built by deleting the stuff you don't even value. Now, step 2, you need to master the macro over the micro, because I'm going to say something that some people are going to hate. If you are obsessing over $3 lattes while you have a $700 car payment, you're not being disciplined. You're being distracted. Micro cuts make you feel productive. Macro moves change your life. Your financial life is not going to be fixed by skipping guac. It's going to be fixed by 5 to 10 big wins. Things like negotiating your salary, changing jobs strategically, automating investing so it happens whether you're motivated or not. Fixing your credit score so the cost of borrowing drops. Refinancing high-interest debt. Making smarter decisions on housing and transportation because those 2 categories will either fund your future or strangle it. And here's the principle I want you to adopt today. The 85% solution. You do not need a perfect plan. You need a plan that's 85% right, and you need to start today. Because perfect is usually just fear pretending to be intelligence. If you wait until you understand everything, you will be broke with a PhD in personal finance. Start. Now, step 3 is where the wealth machine actually turns on. You build an automated money engine. Because motivation is not reliable, You can be disciplined for a week, and then life happens. You get stressed, you get tired, you get bored, you have a bad day. You deserve a treat. So instead of relying on willpower, we build automation. Here's the structure I want you to use. 4 buckets: fixed costs, investments, savings, guilt-free spending. Your fixed costs, housing, utilities, insurance, debt payments, groceries, should usually land around 50 to 60% of your take-home pay. Investments start with 10%, savings 5 to 10%, and guilt-free spending 20 to 35%. And the reason this is so powerful is because it removes guilt. You're not winging it and then panicking at the end of the month. You're planning your life intentionally. But none of this works unless you automate it. So here's what you do. The day after payday, money moves automatically. A transfer to savings, a transfer to investments, bills get paid, and whatever remains in checking is what you can spend guilt-free. If you never see the money, you won't miss it. Most people try to save what's left over at the end of the month. That's cute. What's left over is usually zero. Pay yourself first, automatically, and let your lifestyle adjust to the remainder. That is how adults win. Now, step 4, you need to move from loaner to owner. Most people think saving is the finish line, but if your long-term strategy is to park your future in a basic savings account earning basically nothing, you're not building wealth. You're loaning money to the bank. To build wealth, you need to own productive assets. You need to become an owner. That can sound intimidating, but it doesn't have to be complicated. For most beginners, a simple way to start is with low-cost index funds. Like an S&P 500 index fund, you are buying small pieces of hundreds of great companies. You're not trying to pick the next Tesla. You're buying the entire engine of the economy. And here's the mindset shift that will save you years of stress. Time in the market beats timing the market. You do not need to predict recessions. You do not need to wait for the perfect entry point. You need to consistently invest over time. The wealth machine is boring. That's why it works. Now, step 5 is how you make this sustainable, even if you're starting from zero. The 1% progress rule. You are not going to wake up tomorrow and become financially perfect. That's not how this works. Wealth is a snowball. And snowballs don't start huge. They start small, and then momentum takes over. So every month, you make one tiny 1% improvement. Cancel one subscription you don't care about. Negotiate one bill. Increase your investment contribution by $20. Move one expense from fixed costs into guilt-free spending by lowering the fixed cost. Automate one more transfer. 1% per month sounds small until you realize you're compounding your behavior. And then we hit the milestone that changes everything. Your first 100,000. The first 100,000 is the hardest because early on, your growth comes mostly from you, from your deposits, from your discipline, from your decisions. But once you build a real base, your money starts to contribute more than you do. Your portfolio growth starts to compete with your paycheck. That's the moment the machine becomes obvious. It stops feeling like you're pushing a boulder uphill, and it starts feeling like you built an engine that pulls you forward. Now I want to close with something simple. If you're waiting for the perfect time to start, I need you to stop. There is no perfect time. The best time was years ago. The second best time is today. So here's my question for you. What is the one small action you will take in the next 10 minutes? Not today, not this weekend, not when you have time. In the next 10 minutes. Open a savings account and set up an automatic transfer. Increase your 401k contribution by 1%. Audit your guilt-free spending and cut one thing you don't even like. Set up an automatic investment into an index fund. Pick one. Do it now because you don't need more motivation. You need a machine. And the second you build it, you stop being someone who hopes money works out and you become someone who makes it inevitable.